John began his ministry in the desert. His appearance and the environment reflect his identity and message. His clothing recalls Elijah, who confronted King Ahaz, challenging him to change. The locusts and the desert recall the Egyptian experience and the Exodus. The wild honey recalls the food given to Ezekiel. So in summary, John the Baptist is presented as one of the Old Testament prophets. In fact, later on Jesus would comment that he is one of the greatest. Old Testament spirituality stretches on faithfulness to God by means of observing the Mosaic law. When they did, they would be rewarded. If they did not, they would be punished. John, coming from that tradition of the Old Testament, could not transcend that mentality of emphasizing the keeping of the laws with the motivation of hoping for reward and avoiding punishment. That's why he was still using threatening words, saying that the axe is laid to the roots of the tree, so that any tree which fails to produce good fruits will be cut down and thrown on the fire. That was the Old Testament way of fiery preaching. When you don't change, God will punish you. God is going to cut down the tree. He also warned the Israelites not to presume that salvation is automatic just because they were children of Abraham. He meant to warn them not to presume that they have special privilege, but rather they should personally respond to the grace of God, producing good fruits to show their sincerity. However, somehow John was aware of his own limitation and the limitation of his preaching. He somehow realized that Old Testament approach, though faithful to the tradition, is inadequate. And he declared that he has come only to prepare the way. He has come to prepare for the coming of the Messiah. He was pointing to Jesus. So he asked them, his audience, those who flocked to him, to look beyond himself, to accept Jesus, and to follow him. Someone more powerful than he is. That invitation, of course, also applies to us. We are no longer Old Testament people. But sometimes we still cling on to that kind of mentality. We prefer just to keep laws. Just tell me what are the rules, what are the regulations, what are the laws. This can or cannot, that one can or cannot, I will follow. As Christians, we must go beyond that. We must learn to cultivate the heart. We must listen to the teaching of Jesus, understand the gospel, internalize all the teachings, and try to put the gospel teaching into practice. That is more demanding because that is That means we have to go beyond telling you what is right, what is wrong. You just follow this, follow that, avoid this, avoid that. By the transformation of the heart, we must really understand the teaching of Jesus, absorb it, internalize it, and live out with conviction. Whatever the teaching of Jesus, you are the salt of the earth, you are the light of the world. Forgive 70 and 70 times. Pray for your enemies. Bless those who curse you. All these different teachings of Jesus, we must understand. Only when we understand and with sincere conviction, we can practice. Otherwise, we give all kinds of excuses. Oh, we are not Jesus, we are not saints, we cannot fulfill what Jesus is teaching us. Yes, we need to understand ourselves. The way John the Baptist acknowledges his own limitations. I'm not the one. I have my shortcomings. I'm not fit even to carry his sandals, untied the straps of his sandals. Yes, we need to admit our own weaknesses. But in spite of that, we need to sincerely be disciples of Christ, following his way. And one way by which we can learn to get to know ourselves better is the spirit of the season of Advent. To go to the desert like John the Baptist. That means to go to the quiet every now and then, to be silent, to be still, and in that stillness of our heart, away from the hustle and bustle of life, away from the preoccupations with the YouTube and all the media's attractions, in the silence of the environment and of our heart, be in touch of ourselves, recognizing our strengths and weaknesses, see how we can use our strengths for the service of the church and society, see how we can overcome some of our weaknesses and shortcomings, see in what areas we have sinned and we need to repent. We need to make a drastic change to our attitude and our behaviors so that we can truly open our heart, remove the obstacles, prepare the way for the Lord, welcome him into our lives. And in that manner, like John the Baptist, we are able to recognize Jesus in our life. Not only we ourselves will accept him, welcome him, and learn to follow his way, be true disciples of Christ, we can also point Jesus to others, show the way to others, remove the obstacles that may be preventing people from approaching and welcoming Jesus. Let John the Baptist be an example for us, someone who at the same time sincerely preached what he can, did what he can, yet at the same time understanding his shortcomings and limitations, being opened to the coming of Jesus and allowing Jesus to be the light to transform our way of life.